Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanalist Podcast, presented by Fantasy Data. Here's your hosts, Billy Muzio and Bradley Stalder.
Welcome back, everybody. Billy Muzio and Bradley Stalder here for the Fantasy Football Fanalist, presented by Fantasy Data. And tonight, we had a special request. Ranking My Dynasty League is a popular request that we get here for the Fantasy Football Fanalists. And as we get into draft season, we are happy to be kicking off more and more of these. We have fun. The league has fun. And it's just a great way to unite the league together, add a little bit of value to your league. So commissioners or just league mates, if you want to add a little bit of flair to your league, message Bradley or I on Twitter, and we would be happy to rank your Dynasty League from 12th to 1st, because drum roll, everybody wants to know who the winner is. Nobody wants to hear their name called first. So tonight, league is called 1 versus 11. It's a unique format. You face 11 of your opponents every single week. So, for instance, you could be 11-0 the week one. You could be 0-11 week one. It takes a running total from every week, all the matches. You face the entire league every single week. So there's none of that BS about saying, hey, I just faced the highest scorer that week. No, you get to face everybody this week. So it's a very unique format. We're excited to dig in, and it's got some pretty crazy scoring here. So why don't we run through the scoring real quick, Bradley, and then we'll dig into these teams. We'll analyze, and we will decide who the winner is, who the loser is, and yeah, I guess it's going to create a lot of excitement here in this league for these guys.
Definitely. A lot of the league mates were messaging, and we're in this league as well. So we're going to try to cancel out each other's biases or maybe amplify each other's biases. We'll see how it goes. But let's take a look at the structure of the rosters to begin. So as Billy mentioned, this is a 12-team league, Superflex. Start 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 3 flex positions, wide receiver, running back, or tight end, and as I mentioned before, a super flex position. There are plenty of bench spots, 3 IR spots, and 5 taxi squad spots. This is a dynasty league, so we will include dynasty implications for this league. However, our main focus is going to be the outcome of this year's league. So we want to find out who's going to win this year. Of course, we'll put some dynasty dynamic in as well. And a little bit on the scoring. This is so some quarterbacks get points here. 6 point per passing touchdown, 0.2 of a point for a passing first down, 2 points for a passing 2-point conversion. And then there's 40-yard rushing bonus, 40-yard touchdown bonuses for rushing. And there's a lot of receiving bonuses. So stick with me here. There's a receiving first down bonus that's 0.2 of a point. There's 40-yard reception bonuses, 40-yard touchdown reception bonuses, and there is a half-point reception bonus for running back, 0.3 of a point reception bonus for wide receivers, and a full reception bonus tight end premium. So there are...
that's a biggie.
But there's also bonuses for overall game scripts. So 100 to 199-yard rushing game is another point. If you get more than 200 rushing yards, so like Derrick Henry sometimes, that's a 2-point bonus on top of all of the other points that could be scored. And then it follows the same pattern. 100 to 199 receiving is a point. More than 200 receiving is 2 points. And if you pass for 300 to 399 yards, there's a little bit of a bonus. And 400 or more yards for the quarterbacks. They get some bonus for passing yards as well. Hey, how's it going? We got some listeners in. Yeah, Billy, we're gonna have to get the beeper. Make sure that that's at the ready. I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's just part of my vocabulary here.
Awesome. Is there anything else we need to cover? Because I'm ready to kick it off.
I'm ready to kick it off too. So why don't you? I'm just going to get up our
share the screen here.
I'm going to get the soundboard pulled up. 1 second. And then let's go ahead and get the share screen on. So
Fantastic.
we are ready.
Oh, let's do this.
We are ready to rock and roll. Let's do it.
Okay, so 1 versus 11. This is on the Sleeper app. Billy and I use Sleeper a lot. I know Billy uses FFPC for a lot of his high stakes leagues, but for our dynasty leagues, we really do like Sleeper as the preferred platform. And they did just release all of their ADPs. And we had a recent podcast where we looked at players we were high or low on, and we looked at Sleeper's FFPCs, and of course, Fantasy Data's ADPs. First team, and by first I mean our 12th ranked team in this league for this year, is J Ash 5150.
Hold up. I got to get it. Say it again. Sorry, I missed the button.
All right, our 12th ranked team is J Ash 5150. Phenomenal. Absolutely outstanding coordination there, Billy.
It moved.
We are off to the races. And so is J Ash 5150. And look, we've done a lot of reviews for a lot of teams, lots of leagues, and we've ranked very large leagues, smaller leagues. And to be honest, this is, of all of the last place teams, this is probably a team that I think, if there's been ever a last place team to make the playoffs that we've ranked, I think this is the most likely one that I've ever seen. A lot of the teams are very tight here. We're going to go through them, and we'll start with JAsh 5150's quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields, Carson Wentz, and then Drew Lock. So some viable starters there. Very much top upper tier quarterbacks. And then running backs, Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt fill in the running back 1 and 2. Leonard Fournette, Jamal Williams, Devin Singletary, Darrell Williams, also in the running back slot. Fine depth there. But it's at wide receiver where we see some real drop-off. Odell Beckham is the wide receiver 1 for this team. Tyler Boyd is the wide receiver 2. Brandon Cooks is the wide receiver 3. Like, you're depending upon Brandon Cooks in your third wide receiver spot. That's dicey. But then it's really, you're going to have to eventually start. JAsh 5150 is going to eventually have to start either one of Nico Collins, T.Y. Hilton, Jacoby Myers, Scotty Miller, Travis Fulgham. Probably not Fulgham, but any one of those in the wide receiver spot throughout the season. And that's not something that we're looking to do in a three wide receiver league. I know that he has Darren Waller and Mark Andrews in a tight end premium league, and certainly that's upper tier, top tier tight ends for sure. But I don't know if that can outweigh just the absolute disaster that's waiting to happen at wide receiver. So, Billy, is there any other analysis that you want to add on your perspective of this 12th ranked team?
I think you hit the hammer on the nail. I mean, this team could really surprise, and you were also very accurate when you said that a lot of these teams are very close. I mean, the difference between 5th place and 12th place is not much. One injury can really flip flop these rankings, as well as a couple boom weeks. I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. as bad as the season was last year with injuries and how he's been a bit disappointment for the Cleveland Browns. He could have a bounce back year this year, and that's going to really change the dynamic of this team. I mean, you and I both have Baker Mayfield ranked as, top 12, 13 quarterback this year. And I could really see this team outperforming his 12th spot here that we have him ranked inside this 1 versus 11 dynasty league. And again, you hit the hammer on the nail. The wide receivers are the weakest spot. He's got a lot of running back depth. He's got Mark Andrews at tight end. The second tight end for me is another piece that he's really missing. I mean, I don't want to be relying on Tremble here or Foster Morneau, especially in a full 1 point premium tight end league. I mean, God forbid Darren Waller gets hurt. If he does,
Mark Andrews is going to step in, but are you going to bank on one of your backup running backs starting in that flex spot?
Correct. And that's what I'm trying to get to is he's got two really solid tight ends, but if he loses one of these guys, there's really not a third in a full 1 point tight end premium league.
Definitely. So I think that this is, we talk about, I don't know if you've heard this chatter where like the Cincinnati Bengals, Zach Taylor, head coach, is like a real dark horse to win coach of the year this coming year. And I think that this is a dark horse team to make the playoffs. Like if all the things break right, this is absolutely within the range of outcomes. Usually when we talk about 12th ranked teams, there is no way that these last place teams are going to make it. This is a team that has a chance.
Yeah, and especially, we don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. Everybody might think they have a pulse on this scenario, but no one really knows. At this point, we're all just anticipating him missing weeks. But hey, just for shits and giggles, there you go, boys. There's the first curse word of the night. But just for shits and giggles, if Watson plays, Brandon Cooks immediately jumps up boards. And so then that's
he's
where
a
this
top
team
12 to 15 wide receiver, and that's a steal at your wide receiver 3 spot.
Correct. So I think there's a lot of variables with this roster, and he could very well upset a lot of players in this league.
Okay, Billy, we've talked about 12th ranked enough. Let's move to the 11th ranked team, and that is Thunder Colts. Thunder Colts is our 11th ranked team, and led by some solid veteran quarterbacks. So Russell Wilson, Matt Ryan, Jared Goff. He has 3 quarterbacks. That's what you like to see in these types of leagues, ensuring that you have the depth that you need in case something happens or a bye week crops up, especially in a crucial week. So we also see in the running backs, Dalvin Cook, Travis Etienne, Michael Carter, Alexander Madison. So he has the backup to Dalvin Cook. David Johnson is still going to be useful. And then J.D. McKissick as well in a half-point running back reception league. So I think that's a pretty solid running back core. But we once again see a lot of questions here at the wide receiver spot. Devontae Adams is the number one, unquestioned. But then Adam Thielen, is this the year that he drops off? He's 31 years old. I don't know. These big-bodied receivers tend to just have amazing years, and then it's the cliff. Is this the year that Adam Thielen, still produces top 12 wide receiver or not? There's risk there. Jalen Waddle, we're going to find out if he's boom or bust. We put a rookie profile on YouTube describing Jalen Waddle as one of the biggest rookie boom bust candidates. So that's a possibility. But then Russell Gage, he's on the up and up. But is he going to be a trusted top wide receiver 3 in this league? I don't know if I'm comfortable starting him. Marvin Jones might be usable. And then lots of other trash here. Tight ends, Mike Gesicki is your tight end here. I'm not a huge fan of the hedge between Gesicki and Waddle. I think they're going to eat into each other's target shares with Devontae Parker still there. Preston Williams is still going to be used. Will Fuller was signed. I think there's a lot of concern on that front. I'm not a huge Gesicki fan. He's my tight end 11 right now. And then Rob Gronkowski, I don't know. There's a lot of questions. He could be really good. He could also fall off or be injured. So I think there's a ton of questions with the wide receivers. That's what's going to bring this team down. And I think it lacks, except for that upper tier, each player at the position, the top player at each position, I think it lacks secondary strength.
Yeah, and this team is also getting old. It's not getting any younger anytime soon. He does have, his first next year, which helps. But when two of your top 3 tight ends are Rob Gronkowski and Jimmy Graham in a full 1 point tight end premium league, you're in trouble. I'm sorry. It's a dynasty league. If this was redraft, okay, it could work. But in a dynasty league for the future, I'm a little concerned here for his tight end spots, more so than his wide receiver spots. I still think he has some wide receivers that he can play here, and he's got enough in the flex for his rookies and his running backs and everything that's going to piece together. I'm higher on Michael Pittman than you are. I actually think Michael Pittman takes a major step forward, especially with Carson Wentz. Don't be shaking your head at me, Bradley.
I don't think Michael Pittman is #good at football, so come at me.
Oh, no. I think Michael Pittman is #. So Bradley, wrong, buddy. Sorry. Michael Pittman is going to break out this year. You heard it here first on the Fanalist show presented by Fantasy Data. Doing the 1 versus 11 dynasty league review.
All right. I have Michael Pittman as wide receiver 68.
Yeah, I think you have a couple extra digits there before the 6. It should be like maybe a 38, maybe something around there.
At least I have your boy Corey Davis ahead of him.
All right. Okay. This is a topic for another night. I like the fact that he's quarterbacks. I really like his running back core, especially with the youth with Travis Etienne down here. Apologize everyone scrolling up and down the screen here. I got to go down to the his taxi squads because we haven't set rosters yet to get those extra dart throws in here. I do like some of his pieces here. The wide receiver core. I like Devontae Adams. I regardless if Aaron Rodgers is there or not. But I think this team is ranked 11th and rightfully so.
Okay. Number 10, Electric Company. An Electric Company is one of those interesting teams because we look at the quarterbacks and Trey Lance, Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love at quarterback for Electric Company. Extremely high upside. Both quarterbacks could be top 6, top 5, based on the rushing. We don't know, though. There are serious questions at the quarterback position. They are very young, and the third quarterback on this roster is Jordan Love. Also looking at the running backs, DeAndre Swift, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders. A very young, strong core of running back. Damian Harris, Chuba Hubbard, Darrington Evans, Khalil Hubbard, all players like drafted in the last 1 to 3 years. And then it drops off Latavius Murray, Mark Ingram, Le'Veon Bell. But looking at the wide receivers as well, I think this is perhaps the worst wide receiver core that I've seen. Brandon Ayuk is the wide receiver 1. Denzel Mims, I'm very out on as well. I mean, he's running with the 2s in New York in OTAs. That is not what you want to hear from the Denzel Mims truthers. Amon-Ra St. Brown is his 3rd best wide receiver. Van Jefferson, Preston Williams, Traquan Smith. These are all dart throws. He's got TJ Hawkinson and Irv Smith. I think Irv is going to be fine this year, but I think that Tyler Conklin is still going to be involved more than people like. But what is going to set Electric Company apart for the dynasty realm over the next couple of years is 2 first-round picks next year, which his own, we don't think he's going to be that good of a team this year, which means it's going to be a high pick. And another first-round pick, which is going to be valuable in this type of league where you do need depth, you do need running backs, and he's got some quarterbacks. And if Lance and Hurts pan out, then he doesn't need to worry about that. He can take an exceptional top-tier wide receiver in the draft. But this is the worst wide receiver core I've seen, and I think the upside is baked in with the risk at the quarterback position. So that's why we have them ranked where we do.
Yeah. If Jimmy Garoppolo exits week 2 with an injury and Trey Lance steps in, I think this team is immediately better. Quite frankly, I think Jimmy Garoppolo, it's his job to lose, number 1. And if he comes in and stays healthy, and if he is performing, I don't think Trey Lance plays much this year. Even though they invested a first-round draft pick in him, they still have gone to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. And had we not had injuries all year last year, I think they could have had another run. Yes, a little bias back there, red and gold in the back. But a lot of this is baking upon the what-if scenario. And I don't like that when it comes to an outlook for 2021. Dynasty, okay, great. Trey Lance is the future. Dynasty, okay. Jordan Love is the future. I think this team has a far better dynasty outlook than a 2021 outlook. And you know what? Quite frankly, that's how he built this team, though. And he did it right. He built the youth. He went Jalen Hurts. He went Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He went Swift. He went Ayuk. He went Mims. He went Hawkinson. So Sanders. So he's got a very good team. He really does. He's got a very solid young team as well. So I don't think 2021's his year. Will he fight? Yeah, he's going to put up some weeks. He's going to have some good ones. He's going to have some down ones. But I think this team is built for the future. I don't hate it. I like what he did here. And I think he punted year 1 knowing that. So I think that was always the plan. And I think he did. If that was the plan, I think he did a fine job.
I would have really liked to see maybe one more first-round pick or maybe one more a stronger wide receiver thrown in there. I just can't trust that any one of Denzel Mims all the way down to Jalen Hurd, like anyone hits even a top 24 season or a top 36 season among those wide receivers. And then he's going to have to spend either picks consolidating or trading face plants. That it's a risky business. So I can see how it could work out if those quarterbacks really do hit, but there's a lot of risk in this team for the future. Caution is the word I'm going with for Electric Company. All right, number 9, JCap 86. And JCap 86 is a similar situation. Not exactly the same to Electric Company, but similar situation. We're going to see quarterbacks Justin Herbert, who I would say is, once again, more proven than what we saw with Electric Companies at quarterback. Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill. So he's going to hedge one way or the other. He has that New Orleans quarterback locked up for at least 2021. But he's banking on running backs hitting. A.J. Dillon, Chase Edmonds. But then it really drops off Chris Evans, Justin Jackson, Kerryon Johnson, Jared Dokes, Demetric Felton. Those are not the running backs you need if you are serious about competing this year. Like if you believed in A.J. Dillon, like there are still A.J. Dillon truthers out there. I don't see how he's going to get more upside than maybe a back-end running back too. But that's also the upside for Chase Edmonds as a back-end running back too. So I'm not impressed. I think this is one of the worst running back cores in the league. But then he bounces back with a pretty strong dynasty wide receiver core. Jamar Chase, Terry McLaurin, Amari Cooper, Chase Claypool, Cortland Sutton. I don't think there's a more solid 5 deep in the league. This will go up between any of them. And then you've got Terrace Marshall, Kadarius Toney, lots of youth, Brian Edwards, Nelson Aguilar, Tyler Johnson, Hunter Renfrow, John Brown if he needs something to pop in. And then his tight ends are not that good. He's hedging on the Dallas tight ends, Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz. OJ Howard is there as well. But as we mentioned earlier,
he's got Taysom Hill at tight end too.
You can't play him at tight end, though. That's the thing. He doesn't qualify, Billy. But what makes JCap 86 similar to Electric Company has to do with the picks. So there are 3 2022 picks that JCap 86 has accumulated post-draft or during the draft, and I think that will set up JCap 86 a lot better because those picks will get running backs, and you'll get production out of those running backs. I think this is much more of a 2022 or 2023 team, especially given Justin Herbert already being solidified. He's my quarterback 1 going into this season. So could things break right? Sure. But the running back room scares me on this team, and that's why JCap 86 is 9th for us.
I think he has the capital, though. So, like, if he comes out surprising, like, let's just say that Chase Edmonds, I have him ranked higher than you do, especially in this type of format where we're getting reception bonuses. I think Chase Edmonds in this format has potential to be a top 15 running back in this format, with the receptions, with the rushing bonuses as well. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's a possibility. So let's just say he surprises here and he really does want to solidify that other running back role. He's got a ton of picks to do so.
He can breathe that back out, I suppose. Yeah.
And that's what I like about this team. I really like his receivers. Like you said, it's probably the best top 5 wide receivers in the league. The tight ends are a little iffy. I do really like the sleeper pick here of Granson. He's one of my deep stashes in probably 20 of my dynasty leagues here. I just really like the talent. He runs a lot of the slot, and I just think that he is going to be playing more than people are anticipating here on this Indy team. So again, another one of those teams that could really surprise. I just think that I'm going to reiterate what we said in the beginning. There's a lot of slim differences between, 6th overall ranked and 12th overall ranked. And I think it could go either way. And there may be some boom weeks that could really surprise people. And then they have the capital to be able to move some people around and acquire those needy positions. So I like the build. I love the youth he has, and I love the depth he has. And I think that it's a pretty good build outside the running back core.
Definitely. And if it's a burn it down type of situation, look, Chase Edmonds is going to be a prime candidate. Like, let's say that JCap starts really poorly. Like, let's say through the first 5 weeks, a really low, like, let's say 300 winning percentage. I would say Chase Edmonds is still going to be valuable. Like, Edmonds is my running back 31. I think he's going to split carries with James Conner and all that. So I think that he still has value, but he's not the running back that you want as your running back 2 in this type of league. He still has value, though, maybe as a flex play. Okay. Next up at 8th, Imperator. Imperator has a really good starting lineup, but then we'll see what happens after that starting lineup. At quarterback, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers. Pretty solid quarterback situation.
Don't forget Blake Bortles.
Love me some Blake Bortles, except if he's starting for the Packers. Don't even go there, Billy.
You mean when he's starting for the Packers?
At his third quarterback is Derek Carr. Davis Mills, we anticipate, may get a couple snaps this year. At running back, Antonio Gibson, Josh Jacobs, a very solid 1-2 punch. Tyreek Hill, Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods. But then Elijah Moore, Robbie Anderson. At the back end, Paris Campbell, Devontae Parker.
Forgot Mike Davis, my
Cole
boy.
Beasley. I intentionally left Mike Davis off.
I know you did. I want to make sure that he was mentioned. He is worthy.
He's my running back 28, so whatever.
We already have a beer bet.
Cole Beasley, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and then, of course, Darrell Henderson, Anthony McFarland, Benny Snell, Javian Hawkins as running backs. And then as it is tight end, George Kittle. And Adam Troutman, who's the presumed tight end 1 in that New Orleans offense, Eric Ebron, who we've spoken highly about as a value. I think there's a lot of good things happening right now, but there's also a little bit of age that's creeping in. Robert Woods is getting closer to 30. Kittle has some injury issues. Aaron Rodgers might sit. Mike Davis is 28 years old, and he wasn't able to hold on the whole season in a full-time role. That's what we saw last year. So I think that there are legitimate questions. I think this is a middle-of-the-pack team. A lot can go right for this team. A lot could go wrong for this team. There's a tremendous amount of upside when you have Jackson, when you have Gibson, when you have Hill, and Ridley, the new hot commodity. So, yeah, I think this is appropriately placed, a middle of the pack team.
It's very top heavy. I mean, very top heavy, and I think he's going to have some really, really, really good weeks. My only fear is injuries, and let's not forget, COVID is still around, and I know it's not going to be as prevalent as it was in 2020. It's not going to cause havoc on the league like it did, where games are being rescheduled. At least, hopefully not. But when I look at like what the NBA has done, and look at how the Major League Baseball has done, it really hasn't interfered that much with this season. And as we all know, the NFL just kind of bulldozes its way through much more so than those other leagues. So I'm anticipating it to be less of an impact. But heaven forbid it does happen. That's when the depth here really starts to hinder this team and its performance, and where it can really heights that it can achieve. So I really do like the roster. I mean, I love the top heaviness. I love the Lamar Jackson, Gibson, Tyreek Hill, Ridley start. I mean, that's 2 of my top 3 wide receivers right now is Ridley and Tyreek Hill. I mean, Ridley is I haven't finalized my rankings, but Ridley is arguably going to be my number 1 wide receiver with Julio gone. I think I had him at like 161 targets with Julio gone. So I'm excited to see this year, and he's got some stacks going on, which I also like. So I like the team. I mean, the picks hinder also his placement here as well. We do take into consideration picks. So very top heavy. Bench is kind of a concern. Picks are also kind of non-existent for 2022.
How concerned are you about Josh Jacobs and the involvement of Kenyon Drake in the Raiders offense?
I'm actually not that concerned because Gruden still is going to run the ball. I think Drake's going to be more involved as a pass catcher. He is going to get his touches. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, he's just going to be an upgrade from like the Booker, upgrade from that third down role that we saw here inside this Raiders offense. And yes, he's going to spell him, here and there, but I still think Josh Jacobs is the guy. If this team's ahead, who are they going to give the rock to? It's going to be Josh Jacobs. He's going to pound the ball. Run the clock down. And he's going to break some off here and there. And I still think he's a good back. I think he's being undervalued right now. I mean, he's going in drafts in like round 5 right now, which is a steal. I'm okay taking him in round 4 in a lot of these FFPC drafts and drafts on sleeper and underdog and such. But I think that he's being undervalued, and I think he's going to surprise people this year.
Awesome. Let's move on to our 7th ranked team. And that would be actually you, Billy.
Oh, yeah, buddy. Let's do it.
All right. Our 7th ranked team, Billy Musio, Dak Prescott at quarterback, Matthew Stafford and Jimmy Garoppolo and Cam Newton. Lacking clarity of that quarterback 3, but maybe you can piece those together throughout the season. We'll see if Cam can hold on to that starting job. He already has a hand bruise to start OTAs, so we'll see what happens. Jimmy Garoppolo obviously is the starter until he's not. And then at running backs,
it's not looking good, Bradley.
I'm more than a little concerned. David Montgomery and Melvin Gordon. Monty's going to be there the next couple of years. Sure, he's going to be a staple, but Melvin Gordon has 1 year left on his deal in Denver.
He's gone.
He was not running well, but at the end of the season for the Denver Broncos, they drafted bulldozer Javonte Williams. They also signed Mike Boone, who I think is actually a nice little stash for 2022 as the 1B in that running back room for now. I think that a lot can go wrong for Melvin Gordon. They've got nothing to lose than just run him into the ground, and
that's why I like him this year.
They aren't passing him the ball, though. That's been the issue over the last couple of years with Gordon in Denver, that you'd hoped, he can catch a couple passes. No. But let's not beat to death the running back room. You do have Kenyon Drake there, Eli Mitchell, Phillip Lindsay, Kylan Hill, and then a couple depth pieces of Malcolm Brown, Carlos Hyde, and then Darius Geis on your team still. Can you speak to, just for a second for our listeners, about why you've been stashing Geis in certain places?
I added him after his all of his allegations were settled in court. I don't think he's necessarily going to play in 2022 or maybe 2022. I mean, he's still young. Like, he's 23 years old. I mean, he's the same age as Najee Harris. And he came out of college and he was arguably, top 1, top 2 running back in the draft class. I still think he's talented. I think he's an idiot. Don't get me wrong. And I think he's got a lot of mental issues, but it is the NFL. He's had injuries as well. It's worth the stash is all I'm trying to say here, is with my running back core, knowing how weak it was with all these, misfits in like Hyde, Brown, and Lindsay backing up, this mess up here. I think that it was worth the stash just in case. I think it was like 2 or 3 fabs. So I'm okay with it.
Especially because in leagues that are so deep like this, you're not going to be spending 50% of your fab on a starting running back. Those are gone. Like the backups and the backups to the backups are already rostered. So I don't like
let's just say, like, hypothetically speaking, like, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but let's just say next week, all of a sudden, Miami says, oh, you know what? Darius Geis has settled his court cases. We're going to bring him in. And I think all of a sudden now he's a worthy bench player. Same could happen with Atlanta Falcons. I mean, there's a lot of running back needy teams out here still, and Darius Geis was a talented player in college. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not, it's a long shot, but hey, I'll take a long shot for 2 or 3 fab all day of the week.
Okay, let's move on to the wide receiver rankings, or wide receiver core here. You got a young, strong core: Chris Godwin, AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel. Certainly the AJ Brown hype was kind of snuffed a little bit after the Julio Jones trade. I still think A.J. Brown is a top tier wide receiver, both now and for Dynasty. But
you missed one, Bradley. You missed one.
I know, CD Lamb, you stashed him away. A.J. Brown, CD Lamb, Chris Godwin, Deebo Samuel, Darnell Mooney. Reports out of Chicago were that Darnell Mooney was smiling, catching slant passes from Justin Fields, which is all my heart needed to hear. At least all of my Justin Fields shares. But Darius Slayton and Jamison Crowder, this is a very good wide receiver core. I think maybe if you can add another one, possibly, but I think there's a lot of good things happening. If you have the injuries, like A.J. Brown has struggled with injuries, Chris Godwin struggled, Deebo Samuel struggled with injuries, Jamison Crowder struggled with injuries. These are wide receivers that maybe you need to have more than the wide receivers that you have on your team, but you have to cross that bridge when you get there. The tight ends, though, I would say are arguably the best tight end core in the whole league, and this is a full point tight end premium. Noah Fant, Dallas Goedert, Austin Hubert, Harrison Bryant, David Njoku. And look, there's been rumors about Njoku being traded or him asking to be traded and then not traded, then things being okay. But I mean, the Browns, they might trade him still. And if he goes to a place like Arizona.
Could you imagine if he's the Kelsey heir? Ooh.
Do you know who David Njoku is? So Player Profiler, one of the partners of Fantasy Data, where we get some of our advanced efficiency metrics. Player Profiler. Do you know the strongest comp to David Njoku? Not. Travis Kelce.
Love it.
So
I mean, he's young. I mean, look at that. He's 24 years old.
And he's already been a top 10 tight end in the league.
Yeah, screw the Browns for burying him on the depth chart. I mean, he looked fantastic down the run. And in the playoffs, he was the best tight end on this team. Like, Austin Hooper can step aside. It should be David Njoku's team. They should never brought in Hooper to begin with. But here we are. I have all three now. I'm set there. We're golden. In a full 1 point tight end Premier League, Bradley, I don't agree with your rankings here. Bradley did these rankings, folks. I like this team. I know that my running back core is iffy. This is a hyper build, though.
Iffy. The hyper build. Yeah, you want to talk about that for a second too, Billy?
Yeah, so best ball's been kind of my specialty for the last couple years, especially this year. I should have about 120 plus best ball teams. Hyper build here was a Justin Herzig from Establish the Run, and he talks about going, double quarterback, 2 tight ends, only 4 running backs, and then just hammering down with wide receivers. It's a best ball theory. It doesn't really work in redraft as much. You can still take nuances of it, though. It works better when you have elite running backs as those 1, 2, 3s there, so you can have them interchangeable and you get steady points. I'm okay with Melvin Gordon. You made my argument for me. This build was designed with Dave Montgomery for the youth, Melvin Gordon for really a 1-year hit here. And if I need to move a wide receiver to replace a running back, I can. But Melvin Gordon is going to get the rock this year. I don't think this team is that good. I think he's reaching the age cliff. I think he's almost burnt toast, but I think that he's going to be handed the rock quite a bit this year. They're going to run him to the ground because he's on his last year and his last year of his contract. And I just don't think that they have his health in mind at all whatsoever with this play calling.
Okay, awesome. We'll move on to the 6th, and that's yours truly, Billy. You want to pull it up and just talk about it? I don't want to be too biased here, and then I'll add a couple things of note. But if you want to go through it, I'd appreciate your unbiased opinion.
So we have Kyler Murray here at starting quarterback position. We have the amazing Ben Roethlisberger here at number 2, and then he's kind of got Mariota, Rudolph here. He's got Zach Wilson here to step into. So I like the youth that he has that's going to, work into his confidence as Ben Roethlisberger starts for him. So I think that's going to be a nice transition here. At running back, he's got Chubb, Nyheim Hines, James Conner. And then on the bench, he's got McKinnon, Booker, Pirine, which is going to get more carries than people think. Brian Hill's a sneaky pick here as well. you keep talking about the 1B in Boone. I think he's the 3, if not the.
Well, for this year, but I think
yeah,
next year he'll be the B.
He's got Jeff Wilson. That was a big blow. That sucks because that would have been the other running back piece that you needed here. Yeah, your taxi kind of blows, so we're going to skip that. We're going to go back up here to wide receiver. I love the wide receiver core. I love me some Jefferson, some Higgins, and people are selling Higgins, and I'm buying all day long. I still think that this offense is going to support all 3 of them. I mean, people forget that AJ Brown had 100+ targets last.
AJ Green.
Sorry, thank you. Who did I say? AJ Brown. Yeah, AJ Green had 100+ targets here, and it's not like the guy coming in is a chump, but I think they're still going to be able to, spread these targets out pretty evenly. I think Higgins is going to be. He's my wide receiver 1 on this team this year. I think Jamar Chase starts taking over that role towards the end of the year, but the beginning of the year, I think it's Higgins. Tight ends here, you have Logan Thomas, and I'm missing somebody. Oh, Ferk Daddy. Ferk Daddy took a big hit. I've been on the Ferk Daddy train all year with you, and I think that the Julio news kind of put some speed bumps in on the hype train here for the hype beast, and I still think Ferk Daddy's going to get his share. And I mean, God forbid Julio gets hurt. It happens every year. Ferk Daddy's going to step into a pretty significant role. And there's really nobody behind Ferkser, Julio, and AJ Brown. Well, we have Josh Reynolds. We have, rookie Fitzpatrick. So I don't really think that we have
Bradley Moore.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody. I just think that Ferk Daddy's going to get some, and whether people are he's not dropping that much in drafts. I mean, he went from like 10 to 12 again. So I do think that, some people pump the brakes, but I do still think he's going to have a role. So, I mean, Bradley, I like your team. I don't think it's crazy.
You forgot some of my flex players.
Oh, you mean like Hamler? I'm not talking about Hamler.
Scroll up a little bit.
I mentioned these guys.
Not Juju.
Where's Juju? I don't even see.
Keep scrolling up a little bit.
Oh, flex. Oh, I did miss Juju. He's got Juju. I like Juju. I like Cooper Kupp. So I like you have a really good wide receiver core. And we've talked about it earlier here. Even Josh Goldston said wide receivers in this format are king. Tight ends are also king in this format. And that's, I think, one of your biggest hindrances here. Outside your weekly Logan Thomas shares here, I think there might be some ups and downs, some hills and valleys in your tight end play. It's all going to rely on Ferk Daddy as well and what he's going to be able to do this year. But you still have all your picks next year. I think it's a very balanced build. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I think there's upside. So, I mean, I think it's a good team.
Thanks. All right. So that was 6th. We'll move on to 5th. And that's Chewy, 55. 5th overall. And we'll look at the quarterbacks: Ryan Tannehill, Tom Brady, Teddy Bridgewater, Tyrod Taylor, and Taylor Heineke. So a pretty solid 1-2. And I don't know about you, Billy, but I'm a believer in Teddy Bridgewater. I think he outright beats Drew Lock for the job. I think that Teddy Bridgewater is a significant upgrade from Drew Lock. He completes about 10% more of his passes, and he dumps off to the running back, which would bump up Melvin Gordon. So if it's Drew Lock, fade Melvin Gordon. If it's Teddy Bridgewater, get on the Melvin Gordon hype train. I think Teddy Bridgewater wins. I project him to win. I think he's a better decision maker than Drew Lock, and he can make he can run the offense better than Lock, and he's more consistent. So I think that's a nice stash. Teddy got some Teddy 2 gloves love right there. But what separates Chewy's team from the rest of the league is his running backs. Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers, Najee Harris, Chris Carson, James Robinson, the running back 1 on Buffalo, Zach Moss, Gus Edwards, who just signed a 2-year extension with Buffalo or with Baltimore, Kenneth Gainwell, Ramondre Stevenson, who was just compared to LeGarrette Blount and is expected to take over in 2022. Rashad Penny's there. James White is a PPR back. I think there's a lot of really strong running backs on this team, not just for now, but also for later.
Hold up, Bradley. Do you hear that?
He's got some workhorses.
He's got some workhorses, Chewy, man. This is a good. Chewy loves his running backs, and
he does.
I love his running backs here. I'm not a fan of Akers, but hey, he could be fantastic. I think he's overrated, but I think okay. Enough with the horse sound. Stop it.
Billy was just galloping away.
It just kept going.
Well, speaking of Gallup, he's on this team, but keep going, Billy.
He is. Yeah, Gallup is on this team as well. I really like. I mean, God, he's got so many running backs. Hey, Chewy, hit me up, bro. I need a running back.
So do I.
All right, keep going.
Okay. But the wide receiver core has some questions. Mike Evans is the number one. I already mentioned we're going to have to spend the rest of the offseason debating where Mike Evans should go, but I've already received some confirmation bias from a few of the other the big name fantasy people who are out on Mike Evans as well. I'm like, did y'all listen to my podcast a couple days last week? Because I was out on Mike Evans.
I planted this flag first. God damn it!
Thank you. Yes, we did go to the moon. Okay, Julio. It's not a conspiracy theory. Julio Jones just traded. Billy, what does the Julio Jones trade to Tennessee do to his fantasy value?
So I posted on Twitter. I don't really think it really affects AJ Brown that much, especially in a dynasty platform. I still have AJ Brown as as my wide receiver one in dynasty formats. I think that Julio Jones.
Wait a minute! Whoa! I brought you to the dark side.
You did, and it was initially it was just based upon target share.
Yeah,
AJ Brown lost some of that target share, of course, when Julio came in. But that being said, the Julio news to Tennessee helps AJ Brown immensely for double teams. They can't double team anymore. And now on top of it, we're going to see a more balanced attack. I think prior to Julio landing in Tennessee, teams were going to be able to just stack the box. Not all teams. Most teams were going to be, maybe not most. Okay. A good amount of teams were going to be able to stack the box and put their number one cornerback on AJ Brown. Like a Jair Alexander, someone of that quality is going to be able to shut down AJ Brown. And maybe not a full shutdown, but he's going to be able to limit his upside. And they're going to be able to, stop the run at the same time. You add Julio Jones into this element. Now you can't double team AJ Brown. You're going to have to respect the run as well as the passing game. It's going to open up this field a lot more. Out of all the landing spots, it was, I think, one of the best. You and I talked. I had projected him to land in Tennessee. I have, 25% ownership amongst 47 best ball drafts right now of Ryan Tannehill in anticipation of Julio landing there because he was free in round 17, round 18. So I love the landing spot. I think it's one of the best in the league. I think it's a step down from Atlanta, but in terms of like the realm of possibilities where he could have landed, when I heard the news of like him wanting to go to New England, I'm like, why? Why would you want to go to New England? They're not going to win right now.
Nope.
On an offense that doesn't pass the ball that much, that's going to have, quarterback controversy all year round. So, in terms of landing spot, I think it's one of the better landing spots he could have landed in the NFL, at least for an opportunity standpoint.
Okay, we'll look at Tyler Lockett as well in the wide receiver core, Michael Gallup, Jarvis Landry, Antonio Brown. This seems like a win now wide receiver core. Tyler Lockett, 28. Julio Jones, 32, 33. Mike Evans 32. Is 28 or 29. Jarvis Landry's 28. Antonio Brown's, I think, 33. So these are some old wide receivers, and once they start falling off the cliff, it's donezo. And there's no 2022 first. So the tight ends, Robert Tonyan, my boy Tonyan right there. Go Robert Tonyan. And Chris Herndon. He's been a tight end I've been warming up to, but the Jets, he seems to be inconsistent. And we saw at the end of last year, Herndon really catch fire at the end of the season and at the beginning of the season. But in the middle, Adam Gase had him merely blocking like the whole time. So if Herndon can be unlocked, look out. But there's questions there. And I think Robert Tonyan, I love him. I do. But the elephant in the room is Green Bay Packers Aaron Rodgers. So we'll see what happens there. I think if Jordan Love is starting, Tonyan is not a top 10 tight end this year.
My last piece is Chewy Traven running back. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, our fourth team is Adam Too Old. Adam Too Old. And we'll look at the quarterbacks here. Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Ryan Fitzpatrick, a balance of old and young, upside and floor. Running backs, Saquon Barkley.
There's one more quarterback down there.
Yeah, I threw in Trevor Lawrence.
I missed it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, a 1-2 punch that's unrivaled, especially given my love for Aaron Jones, not just because of all the G's behind me, but because he's #good at football. Myles Gaskin, Ronald Jones.
Thank you, Steven.
Thanks. Myles Gaskin, Ronald Jones, Ty Johnson, Todd Gurley. Gurley visited the Lions, didn't sign, visited the Ravens, has not yet signed. Kalen Ballage is on this team. Jordan Howard is on this team. I think it's really top end heavy for running back. And then for the wide receiver, really solid. One of the best three: Diggs, Robinson, Keenan Allen. But then it really drops off. Henry Ruggs, Amari Rodgers, Mecole Hardman, Dwayne Eskridge. You don't want any of those guys starting in your wide receiver 3 spot on a bye week, or if Keenan Allen or Stephon Diggs has a hamstring pull, you're donezo in that spot.
And then Ruggs could take a big step forward. I'm not counting him out yet.
He could, but you can't bank on that, and you can't feel comfortable about it either.
You're not comfortable about it, but he could take a big step. I'm not ruling him out yet, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, we'll look at the tight ends here. Hunter Henry and Hayden Hurst are the only real meaningful tight ends on this roster. And I'm out on Hunter Henry.
He's a glass house.
And he's on the Patriots, and he's also playing with Jonnu Smith and about 17 other wide receivers. So maybe I'm more optimistic about Hayden Hurst having a better fantasy production this year. I can actually check.
This is such a good best ball team.
Yeah, I like
if this was best ball, this is an amazing best ball team. I love the upside of it. Because then you don't have to worry about Ruggs or Valdez-Scantling week to week, or Hayden Hurst if he's going to pop or not pop, or Kendrick Bourne is sneaky good right now. I think he's being underrated. But I think in terms of what he has to set this lineup every week, which is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah. But if Joe Burrow starts off slow, this team's in trouble.
Or if he misses a week due to injury, they're saying he's going to be ready week 1, but we'll see, right? That offensive line is shit. So he takes one more hit to that knee, and he's going to need another cut in it. So we'll see. I like it. I think he's got a lot of upside. I think he's got some balance. He's got some boom. He's got some bust. He has all his picks. I don't know. I think we have surprises. Like Josh could finish, higher than he is, but this team could finish also lower than he is. So this league is really, really, really even. It's really competitive.
It's extremely tight. Extremely.
It is tight. Very tight.
All right. Number 3, the Gambler. And the Gambler has, in my opinion, the worst quarterback grouping.
Where can I find him? There he is.
He's right there. The worst quarterback core in the league. Sam Darnold and Kirk Cousins.
Hold up. Where is it at?
This is by far the worst. It's like he punted quarterback, which, okay, we'll take a look at the rest of his roster, and our viewers can determine from there whether or not he can make up for it. But his running backs, Christian McCaffrey, Ezekiel Elliott, awesome. Raheem Mostert, I think, gets bumped up with the Jeff Wilson injury. Tariq Cohen's going to be involved in the passing game with a 0.5-point bonus to running backs. Wayne Gallman's going to be useful. Sony Michel, I think they're going to run into the ground. I think it's going to be Damian Harris and Sony Michel. Just run them into the ground and then sprinkle in some Ramondre Stevenson. But we also see here wide receivers, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas, and Laviska Shenault's been showing out at Jacksonville camp. So I'm comfortable having Shenault there as my wide receiver 3, but then Rondell Moore, Corey Davis, Christian Kirk, Josh Reynolds, Alan Lazard, Emmanuel Sanders. If that depth could be traded to Adam Too Old, I think we're looking at Adam Too Old being a top 2 or 3 team given the wide receiver depth. But I love the wide receiver depth on the Gambler. But the Gambler's tight ends is what makes him the best. in that category. Kyle Pitts, Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz.
It's really good. It's really good. To be able to have the number one tight end in the league and then be able to back him up with one of the best prospects in the position that we've seen in history. I think it's a job well done going out and spending whatever at all costs to get him. I think it was well worth it, and I think it fits this team and this build. Bradley hit the hammer on the nail. Quarterbacks suck. I mean, it's a major concern. But there are teams
Kirk
out
Cousins'
here.
ceiling is quarterback 12.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of always that sneaky, top tier,
12 to
QB2.
15.
Yeah, he's top tier quarterback 2,
but you don't want that as your quarterback 1.
No, but I mean that's how he got Christian McCaffrey, Elliott, Hopkins, Thomas. That's you got to have a give, got to have a take. So I don't mind it. I just think he needs to get a third quarterback ASAP.
Okay.
And in order for this team to really compete, I think if anything, that's his Achilles heel, and I think that's what's going to hold him back. But he's got the depth to do it, and he still has all his picks. So if he wanted to make a run, he could offer a first for somebody like Ben Roethlisberger, right? He's not going to offer a first, but I'm saying he could offer some sort of
first.
Well, of
if
course
someone came to me and said, "I want Ben Roethlisberger for a
you
first,"
take a second. Don't lie. It was
if I was out of it, but I think Ben Roethlisberger is a top 15 quarterback for this year. So,
oh yes, we received champs payment here, so we're going to get to him shortly.
Well, okay, we'll talk about our number 2 team, and that is Goldie the Gaffer. Goldie the Gaffer is Patrick Mahomes. Tua Tagovailoa has the starting quarterbacks. Mac Jones, Gardner Minshew, Dwayne Haskins. Doesn't have a third quarterback of note. Maybe Mac Jones takes over at the end of the year. There are questions, though, there. The running back position, J.K. Dobbins, Joe Mixon, but then really drops off again. Tony Pollard, Keyshawn Vaughn, Larry Roundtree, LaMichael Pirine, Matt Breida, Boston Scott. So I think having some two top 12 running backs are really good. DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy, DJ Chark, Rashad Bateman, Curtis Samuel, Jalen Reagor. I think Sterling Shepard is still going to be fantasy useful. And then looking at the tight ends, Jonnu Smith, I'm not as high. Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett, Brevin Jordan. I think there's a lot of upside on the tight ends as well. So there's a lot that I think there's enough depth here to make up for any issue except for that third quarterback. So I think that's why Goldie the Gaffer falls short in our rankings here.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to have to go out and try to acquire that piece as well. But I think he has enough in him to kind of hold out and just hope that Mac Jones takes over that role by week 8. I don't remember Patrick Mahomes. What, week 9 by? Is that what it is? I can't remember. 10. I was close. So I think both of them have a mid to late bye. Hopefully by then Mac Jones is at least starting or playing, and I think that's what he's banking on here. I would hold out at the beginning. I think you can get through weeks with what you have. I wouldn't be trading away any of my future assets to acquire that third quarterback.
No, and this team is very, very young. So I'm excited about the prospects of this team, not just for now, but I mean, Mixon's still going to be useful for this year and then even 2 more years. J.K. Dobbins was just drafted last year. DJ Moore, DJ Chark, Jerry Jeudy. All of these are, the youth is very strong. The talent is very strong. We can see a lot of upside. A big question, Jalen Reagor. We'll see if he can step up into this offense. I'm not sure. So let's see.
So the moment everybody has been waiting for. A long drum roll. Bradley?
That was really long.
It was long.
I Am the Champion is our winner, if you want to say that. Our preseason, all of our championships are handed out in June. Didn't anyone know that? So I'm the champion. Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones. I think we're believers in Daniel Jones. I think there's enough assets right now to make moves if there's been some positive talk about Deshaun Watson getting traded to Denver I don't know if that materializes, but at least that bumped up his dynasty stock. If you want
I
to
heard
trade
there's a good
him.
massage parlor there.
Oh, 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 excuse me. I just showed Billy a couple days ago the definition of ope, and
I had
he
no
was
idea what it
informed.
was.
He was informed.
Yeah, I'm a NorCal guy, so I was hella impressed by his ope definition.
Okay, we'll look at running backs. Derrick Henry and Austin Eckler, both I have in the top 10 of running back. The big dog himself is going to rough and tumble, and I think the addition of Julio Jones makes him even more effective. They're not going to be able to stack the box. Trey Sermon, Tevin Coleman, Gio Bernard. Billy, you like just stashing Gio at the end of benches or at the end of best ball leagues.
I do.
But we'll look at the wide receiver core because I think this is where championships are won. DK Metcalf, Kenny Galladay, Will Fuller, Devonta Smith, Marquise Brown, Mike Williams, Josh Palmer, and stashes of Brashad Perriman. I don't think Amon-Ra St. Brown makes the difference. Makes the difference that we hope right off the bat, and I think there's a lot of upside for the likes of Rashard Higgins if OBJ gets traded. Yeah, Will Fuller was a top 10 wide receiver in his time with the Texans, and especially if you're thinking that Tua is going to make the jump that he's going to make, Will Fuller is going to be one of the reasons why. And seeing how Cole Kmet really stepped up this past season and faded out Jimmy Graham. So Cole Kmet, Evan Ingram, Dan Arnold, who was one of the most efficient tight ends in the NFL last season, and Mo Alley Cox as
Don't
well.
forget the Gigantor.
Baby hands Jack Doyle. So I am the champion as our declared winner from this league. I think there's some moves that Champ needs to make still with Deshaun Watson currently pegged into that Superflex spot. But if we get more clarity, look out. I mean, there's so much power there. And I'm sure that getting Deshaun Watson was just a steal at this point. Like, what a value. Any other additional thoughts here, Billy?
No, I think that if we do get clarity, if we find out that Watson suspended 10 games or whatever, maybe I think that Champ has to make a move for a quarterback, given this roster, especially. I mean, Derrick Henry has just been, beaten into the ground with carries. And I think eventually his body's going to break down. I don't know if it's going to be this year. I don't know when it's going to be, but eventually it will happen. We see it with every running back with this amount of carries. Eventually they'll fall off a cliff. So take advantage of the fact that you have two of the top 10 running backs in the league right now with the wide receiver core that you have. I do think that tight end position needs to be addressed at least somehow. I mean, Evan Ingram, I think is going to have a rebound season, and I just
Cole
don't
Kmet,
really...
is he going to step up the way people want?
Okay, so great topic. I love Cole Kmet. I'm a lot higher on him than a lot of people are. I think his upside is limited due to Jimmy Graham being there this year, because Jimmy Graham's going to be the guy that's going to have like 2 catches for, one for a touchdown in 5 yards. And Cole Kmet's going to have like 5 or 6 receptions with like 40 to 50 yards. And then Jimmy Graham's going to come in the red zone packages. So I really like Kmet. I think he's definitely built more for the future. I think he's going to be used a lot between the 20s, but I think Jimmy Graham is that red zone option in the tight end packages. So I think that he's limited there. And like I said earlier, I think Granson is going to be a sleeper tight end here. I know he grabbed Doyle and Molly Cox thinking it was going to be one of the two, but I think it could very well be Granson here for this offense. At least he's going to be sprinkled in at the very least.
One other player I'd like you to hear your opinion on is Gabriel Davis.
Oh, you know how I feel about Gabe Davis. I love Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis, I have projected as the wide receiver 2 for this offense here for the Bills. I'm not too worried about Emmanuel Sanders' addition. I think that Cole Beasley will have his role, but I think Gabe Davis is going to be the number 2. He led the team in receiving touchdowns last year. I think he does the same again this year, and I think he takes a major step forward inside the passing game with being on the field for snap percentages as well as target share. So I'm a big Gabe Davis fan. He's been going in rounds like 12, 13 on average in FFPC right now, which I think is a huge value, especially in best ball, with a guy that could have upside for double-digit touchdowns. I haven't projected for 8, but hey, it's not out of the realm of possibilities for 10. I really like Gabe Davis, and I think that he could have a pretty big year.
Oh man, did Stephon Diggs die or something?
No, Stephon Diggs has only had 7 touchdowns, like I think twice in his career. I mean, he is a PPR monster, but let's just face it, he's not a touchdown machine. He's kind of like the, I think he's the route running version of like Julio. He just doesn't score, right? He's a great route runner. He's a great receiver, but he just can't get in the end zone. And it's just, he has to score from like 20 out. That's just, or more. He's just not using, he's just not a great red zone package receiver. And it's just due to his size and, how it plays out. But I mean, not to take away from his team. I think that he's a great receiver and I think this is a great team. I just think that Gabriel Davis is that red zone receiver for this offense.
Awesome, Billy. Well, that puts a wrap in our analysis of this 1 versus 11 league. Just to recap the order, JAsh 5150 was our 12th ranked team. Thunder Colts was 11th. Electric Company was 10th. 9th was JCap 86th. 8th and Parator. 7th, your boy Billy Musio. 6th, yours truly, the hype beast himself, Bradley Stalder. 5th, Chewy. 4th, Adam Too Old. 3rd, the Gambler. 2nd, Goldie the Gaffer. And 1st, I'm the champion. All right.
And I just want to let everybody know, next week, Bradley is running solo here.
Dangerous proposition.
Very dangerous. I think he's going to have a fun time, though. I'm going to be doing an FFPC FBG draft with a bunch of analysts and
you mean degenerates
and degenerates. Yes, I think it goes one in the same in the name. And then the following week, I will be running solo as well to give Bradley a break before we jump into our July shows as we start digging into 2 weeks. Real quick, Bradley. How do you like the background? This turned out wrong side. This turned out money.
It's absolute fire. It is absolute fire. It's been the best addition to a background since the Robert Tonyan jersey.
Yes, it has. Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you for hiring us.
I am the champion. Of course, the confirmation bias, right?
Very, very accurate. Yes, very accurate. But yeah, it turned out fantastic. Actually, I just want to highlight the background. I love it. It's been a pretty long project though. It's like a month-long project.
And there's some great players that you have hanging there.
Joe Montana, Gore, and Rice. I know they didn't all play in the same era, but they're my 3 favorite Niners of all time. You can throw Kittles in there. He's up here on the shelf somewhere, but it was, I fucking love it. Excuse my language again. Here we go. But I think it turned out fantastic. Beep. Yeah. Beep. Nonetheless, that's it. But everybody, thanks for joining us here on the Fantasy Football Fanalist Show presented by Fantasy Data. Bradley will see you all here next week. Good night and good luck